Welcome to Happy Clubhouse with a review of the Bandai High Grade 1-72 Aura Battler Dunbine, which is Sunrise's sci-fi fantasy mixed genre animation from 1983, which somehow still manages to get categorized as a real robot series. But really, most people know about this entirely through the Super Robot Wars series, where this is frequently seen. And this review is a part of a series taking a look at the different Super Robot Wars animations that are covered in the HG line. Just one more word before we get started. This kit is pretty old and it rarely got reprinted in the 20 plus years since its release, because it's got a bit of a reputation in Japan which likely you've never heard about, but we're gonna get to see it all firsthand. So the HG Dunbine was released back in February 2000 and it sold for a price of 1,430 yen. The poor thing doesn't have an illustration on the box and it has a photograph instead, and that's true for the entire HG Aura Battler line. The box measures 25.5 by 19 by 5.5 centimeters, so it's a little bit on the small side for an HG kit. The short side of the box tells us that this is the first release of the HG Aura Battler line, but it also says here it's the renewal version, which I believe only means that this is a brand new design rather than meaning it's some 1.5 version or something of a kit. The long side gives us some front and back shots, and other studio shots along with some information on the kit in Japanese. The other side has just a photo and some in-universe info on the Dunbine, along with a plug for other kits to come in the series. Inside the box, we get the Dunbine spread across 8 runners, with 2 of them being for polycaps. One runner has all these parts molded in TPE, which is thermoplastic rubber, which we get on kits like the Bound Dock and the Hyzac, which is terrible for painting, but here it's going to be the source of some other big problems. We get a sheet of foil stickers, with these ones up top being for the thighs, both left and right, and then we have these smaller ones that go onto the shoulders in a corresponding spot. Then we have 2 yellow stickers for the sides of the torso, and these really big green ones that also go nearby, one for each side. These 2 pink ones go onto the back of each leg. Then these 2 yellow V's go onto the Dunbine's forehead. And finally, we have these stickers for its eyes. For the instructions, we get some studio shots that go along with the coloring guide. And inside, we get a 2-page spread of detailed information like the different parts of the Dunbine and all its weapons. And on this right page here, we have the illustration by Yutaka Izubuchi used in designing this kit. Mr. Izubuchi's long resume spans Gundam 0080 and Char's Counterattack, but probably he's best known among Patlabor fans for his work there, so clearly Bandai wanted this kit to be something quite great. The black and white side is all for assembly instructions, as you'd expect. And a little over 80 minutes later, we have the completed Dunbine here looking pretty nice. If you've seen Dunbine in any other media in the past, you'd agree that this is a pretty good rendition of the robot with some nice contrasting proportions, like the thin upper arms that gradually expand into the bigger forearms, and then the lower legs that curve inwards before flaring out at the bottom for that beautiful outline. If you've seen older Dunbine kits, you'll better appreciate how far this kit improves those looks. Okay, a bit of foreword before we move on. I'm not usually overly negative towards kits, but for this review, you're gonna see a pattern where almost every nice thing will be spoiled by some serious flaw. That's not to make this review dramatic, it really is how this kit is. So let's start with the backside armor here with a beautiful bulging curve which can be adjusted on its hinge, and it makes the kit so much more expressive. The wings underneath it are beautiful too. Here is a closer look at the long wing with its beautiful sculpt that looks very organic and like an actual insect wing. And it even uses a different thickness of the clear plastic to give it a darker and lighter color in different places, so there really is a lot for the eyes to explore here. The shorter wing is just as nice with all those veins and texture details that you see on the long wing throughout. These wings are prominent parts of the Dunbine, so it's really great that they're so well made. But here you can see the ball joint for the long wings is loose to the point where the wing just doesn't stay up and it simply drops downwards at all, and this is purely from gravity. Without a fix like adding superglue to the socket, the long wing is basically non-functional out of the box, and so many other people have complained about this online. Next, we have these 2 pairs of hands. One set of open palms, and then one set of holding hands. The open palm hand is nicely sculpted, and you get a lot of details like the fingers that are slim and delicate, as they should be. The hands are made of soft TPE, and as you can see here, they probably shouldn't have done that. Because here we have the holding hand, which also looks detailed and also looks nice. The problem is, when we plug in the sword into the hole here on the palm, and we place the hand back into the arm, once again there's just no friction and the hand drops loosely with the weight of the sword. And what's worse, the socket here already has super glue added and it still behaved like this. I think this is because the TPE is just too soft and it's just too slippery, so no matter how tight I made the socket, the material simply deformed and the surface just slipped. The designers got a little bit too cute with fancy materials, and in the end it hurt the final product in very serious ways like this. The sword itself is a simple weapon molded as a single piece. It can stay in the gripping hand, but not always very well, and it has this really nice looking sheath that's mounted on the side of that back armor. Though if we take it off the ring, the sheath actually has no pegs or anything at the top holding it together, so it relies on the ring to hold it together, which isn't the end of the world, but it's a bit of a peculiar design on a modern kit. And the entire assembly rattles around when it's on the back armor, which isn't good. Next we have the Aura shot that's done in this darker blue, and the 4 barrels at the front are color separated, and at first glance it looks really nice, doesn't it? But the barrels sadly also have fitting problems and they rattle around quite a bit. But what's worse than that is the strange way it mounts onto the arms, first using these 2 loops at the front which go over the claws on the forearm of the Dunbine, where it then grips onto the arm in the back right here. Because of the strange design, whenever the weapon is disturbed in any way at all, it pops right off the back here. And I'm sure it's obvious to anyone that this connection didn't have to be like this and be so convoluted. A simple peg would have been fine and fixed all this, but the designers just got carried away. To offset all that negativity a bit, we do have a nice cockpit here with a beautiful clear green piece that can be removed, revealing all the details on the inside. The kit comes with a pilot figure, so this is supposed to be Sho Zama, and you can remove him from the seat if you like. This is a part of the kit that's appreciated, and it doesn't have any particular problems other than not really having any colors, but really we kind of expected that at an HG kit. And other TPE parts are also used to cover up joints like this part here on the neck, with the organic bits that are all soft and spongy, and then the shoulders, and also the thighs here. And this is actually a good choice since the soft texture makes sense for the organic parts that all lie underneath the armor, though I know it's a bit of a headache for builders who plan to paint this. But the bad engineering rears its head once more on the ankles here. So the ankles connect with this polycap right here, and out of the box, this joint is so slippery that the weight of the kit will cause the ankle to slip and the entire kit will lean backwards. I can't show you that here because I already added super glue to mine, or else I couldn't get through any of the review, and yes, it really is that bad. You can balance it and you can have it on some precarious equilibrium, but any touch and any movement will upset it and the Dunbine's gonna tilt backwards and fall right down. This is one of the most serious problems on this kit because it's not just an aesthetic thing that you can avoid. To be crystal clear, the kit doesn't stand up properly out of the box. I'm sure it's reasonable for anyone to be upset and disappointed by this. Though the feet themselves do have a nice sculpt on the bottom here that reveals some more of that organic detail from the bottom of the feet, with a little bit of a hollow space here at the nails. It's gonna need some coloring, but the details are all there and ready for you. So to do a really quick summary right here, the hearts of the designers were in the right place, and you can tell they had a lot of ideas on how to make this not just a good kit, but a good Dunbine kit, with special materials like the clear wings working out really nicely, and maybe the TPE not as much. Then they made the Aura shots without pegs to keep the arms from having holes, and the ankles were angled in a way to match the shape of the feet, but they both ended up being big mechanical problems. People rightly criticize this kit for being quite flawed. I mean, quite literally, it shouldn't have been sold as is, and you can't help but wonder what kind of a troubled development led them to release the kit in this state. They use a photo in the front of the box, and it suggests to me that they may not have had the best of resources and support for this HG Dunbine release. Okay, on to the articulation. Starting from the top, the head looks up a good bit, and it looks down this much. It turns around a full circle without too much trouble. The shoulders can be angled on its ball joint, and the arm swings out this much. And it can swing around a full circle, but you have to watch out for the sword in the back. The biceps can rotate, but they only go as far as the cables will allow them. And these cables have a nice design where there's a bit of slack that pulls out when it's needed, but normally it's tucked away inside the shoulder. The elbows bend upwards about 90 degrees, and the hands can be adjusted on their ball joint or rotated around a full circle as we've already seen. Additionally, the claws here at the front can be adjusted a little bit on an axis. The waist is on a ball joint and you can adjust the upper torso a little bit, and it gives you a bit of rotation side to side, though not a full circle. The legs can be adjusted on their ball joint, and they kick up a whole lot, enough to hit someone on the chin. Then they kick backwards until they hit the back armor. The knees give a bend of about 90 degrees, and the feet move along their ball joint. The lack of toe articulation and the 90-degree joints will definitely limit you when you're posing this kit, but by virtue of the Dunbine's design, the arms and legs can move around quite unimpeded, which really helps it a lot. And I'll be fair to say that this kit can pull off a lot of the iconic poses that you're gonna want for the Dunbine. But realistically, this kit can't hold those great poses without some kind of drooping or slipping. What you see here took me a long time to do. For size comparisons, here we have our lower end benchmark, the entry grade RX-78. And then here's the upper end benchmark, the high grade New Gundam. As a physical kit, the Dunbine is about as tall as the RX-78, so it's gonna look okay when they're displayed together. But remember that this is a 1:72 kit, so it's twice the size of a 1:144. So here I have a Dunbine from a Gunpla line that's about half the size of this kit, and when it's placed here, you'll get a much clearer idea of just how small Aura Battlers are, and I don't think we're ever gonna get anything else that's this far apart from the New Gundam's height. With all that said, here's a Hobby Clubhouse 3-point verdict on the Bandai high grade 1:72 Aura Battler Dunbine. Number 1, it's class action lawsuit level flawed. Now you're not going to hear this very often from me, but this kit is flawed right out of the box to the point where even reasonable basic expectations are not met. Case in point, it can't stand up, and I'm sure we want a model kit to do that. The sword can't be held properly and the aura shot's not going to stay in place. The wings are beautiful, but they only point down, and I'm not sure there's any way around these problems without some kind of user fix, so the kit deserves its very bad reputation that it's had for the last 20 years. And number 2, it is a beautiful rendition of the Dunbine. So beneath all that kerfuffle of the engineering, we do have a good design. If you're a fan of the Dunbine, you'll no doubt quite like how this kit looks. And credit where credit is due, there's not much I'd ever say about it looking bad, so they did bring us a properly modernized version of this character. And number 3, don't buy this. Seriously, I'm worried that people will get the upcoming HG Cybuster, and I think that's going to be a pretty good kit. And some people might go and think, hey, I like Dunbine too, I love that little guy, let me go get the HG kit. Well, don't. Or at the very least, please think twice. When you have this, you're going to get the feeling that you've had your love for Dunbine exploited, and that should never happen when a kit's supposed to be fun and enjoyable. There is the Robot Damashi figure, or even the Master Grade Dunbine, so there are better choices than this kit even if those are super expensive. I really wish I could recommend this kit, but I really can't. So that's a review of the HG Dunbine, and now you know about all the complaints that the Japanese fans have been saying about this kit for over 20 years. The Robot War reviews will continue, so make sure to stick around. Thank you so much for watching. Come look us up on social media with updates on upcoming videos and sneak peeks at future projects. Links are in the description below. Or hang out here some more with one of these other videos. But before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos from Hobby Clubhouse, and I'll see you next time.